So, as a comic book fan, I always appreciate it when the adaptations of said comic books are very faithful to the source material. So, when I see these new costumes that have debuted for Daredevil season 2 in advance of the actual shows, in advance of the episodes, they've decided to reveal them, I guess, to get people even more excited for season 2. I geek out big time because I think they look amazing. However, I feel the pain of the PR departments and just the creative teams behind these shows because I think it's a very fine line between giving what the fans like myself and many of you what we want, but then also not making mainstream moviegoers who don't read comics feel that's too comic booky for me. Because let's remember, a lot of people don't read comics. They seem to really enjoy comic book movies and to some degree comic book television shows, but still comic book sales numbers are pretty low. And I think that you worry about oversaturation in anything, right? So while people enjoy the great cinematography and the fight choreography and the visual effects that go along with comic book properties being brought to the big screen, I think one of the reasons they've done so well, they're only going to stick around if they can change it up and have really good stories. I think that's one of the reasons that Winter Soldier was so well received and that it was as much a political thriller as it was a superhero movie, right? Because I think, for instance, to bring up Batman v Superman, again, a number of the people that I've talked to who aren't looking forward to the movie, which terrifies me, is because they've said it looks silly. It looks too comic booky. And I'm like, is that a problem? For instance, I watched Gotham last night, and I loved it so much because I felt like I was basically reading a Batman comic. And of course, I feel the Batman comics aren't very good right now, so, it was like, hello, old friend. I mean, seriously, last night, the way they depicted Victor Fries, as they were calling him, or Mr. Freeze, was one of the best depictions of the character I've ever seen. And they did a really good job. I wish the movies would almost take a page from the way that they're not only doing, Mr. Freeze, but also even Hugo Strange. B.D. Wong, gotta give him a shout out. But anyway, so yes, I think that, you want to get your hardcore fans in. They're the ones who are going to drive the social media chatter. But at the same time, will someone look at these posters and be like, they aren't as compelling as Matt Murdock in his suit as a lawyer, right? I mean, remember the first campaign. And also Jessica Jones was very unsuperhero-y in the way it was advertised. Now, as for the costumes themselves, I was asked, a lot of you were like, let's talk about how awesome these costumes are. And I'm happy to oblige because they are really cool. I think that the Punisher, I'll be curious to see how such a real-world character decides, he's like, you're right, Karen, that is a cool x-ray. Let's go, go online and order it on a bulletproof vest for myself. But I am curious to see how he comes to wear, not only the vest, but a long leather trench coat, right? You're like, that seems not reasonable for actual combat. And aren't you on roofs a lot? And he's like, I have a gun, whatever. The Indiana Jones, famous, this fight is over before it starts because I'm not going to try and have a good fight here. I think the Daredevil costume, we'll talk about Daredevil in just a moment. We have two pictures here, as you can see. The reason I want to talk about Daredevil is because his costume is actually the one I have the most problem with. But I think Elektra looks amazing. This is much better than the first look they gave us at the character, where she just looked like, as many as you said, she just came from the Gap. She's like, I could easily just go to a movie and get some dinner after this because I don't even have to change. But this costume, I think, her costume is very good because I think it's a good update. Like, it looks like an homage to the comics, but it looks also very realistic. I also think it's interesting that it kind of matches Daredevil's costume, right? Like, are you guys a team? Are you dating? And they're like, oh, we're friends with, we're vigilantes with benefits. But anyway, I love, one of the things I like most about her costume are some of the practical elements of it. I said the belt that she was wearing in the first reveal was very impractical, but she's totally turned that around. I think that the leather long sleeves are very smart because she has a lot of mobility with the tank, but then by wearing those long leather sleeves, that's going to protect her arms from whoever she's fighting who also has a knife, right? So I think that's very clever. I think that was very smart. And then in that other photo here with her face covered, that's like super ninja-y, and I really like it. I think the long hair, well, impractical, although many of you said I don't call Black Widow out for the long hair, so I can't get upset about Elektra. I think the hair looks cool. I think it looks very much like the character from the comics. And, it not only looks like Elektra, but it looks like a lot of ninjas that we've seen over the years and love so much. So I'm very impressed. And I really liked Elodie Yung in Gods of Egypt. I think she's going to really be a breakout star in this series, hopefully. I think she's going to deliver not only the action, as we knew she could from her time in the G.I. Joe franchise, but I think she's going to deliver on the acting as well, which is very exciting. Now, as for Daredevil, I continue not to love this costume. It's supposed to be very real world. I still feel he should dress in all red leather, as you can see from this cool costume. Someone redid his costume with Photoshop. I think it looks much better. I wouldn't put the DD on there. I don't think that's necessary. But I just think it's more interesting. If you're going to wear a costume, aside from hiding your identity, the real point is to throw off your opponent, right? To intimidate them, to distract them, also to protect yourself, obviously. But, you don't have to go, how is he going to, like, ram someone with his devil horns? I mean, clearly he's trying to have, like, a theme and put out a message there. So I would say if you're going to dress up as the devil, the devil goes all out. The devil's not like, I don't want to, like, oversell it, my evilness. I want to go for a muted devil look. You want to look like, the devil running around Hell's Kitchen. So I would think that the all-red costume would be better. I feel that trying to make the Daredevil costume more real world is a mistake. I like that he has his, I forget the term for it, but Nightwing, of course, carries those as well. I think that's a really great weapon, and of course we've seen him already using it in the second trailer, second trailer part 2, and it looked very, very Daredevil-y. So I think they've got the movements down. I think they have the perfect actor in the role, but I really wish they would just fully commit to the costume and what he's trying to say with it. But I think this looks very good. I'm curious as to the very strong changes in the advertising. I wonder if maybe they feel there isn't as much hype for Daredevil Season 2 as there was for Season 1. And I'm curious as to how, comic book movies are going to adapt and how they're going to keep everyone interested, both hardcore fans and mainstream moviegoers who obviously, as we know, aren't that into comics, like they are not hardcore. They're casual comic book fans, and very easily things can seem silly to them. So that's my only concern here, that they might, cross a line and some people will go, that's just another comic book property. That's just a silly show. I'm going to go watch something else. All right, so that's my thoughts on the costumes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some other episodes right now.